KHZTV.com. Plays on WAMD Aberdeen, WKHZ Easton, and WYOD.
Hey, what's up? This is Gina Geppi. Welcome to Gina Geppi's Social Scene on KHZTV.com. We finally stuck with a new name. Thanks for those of you who tweeted in suggestions for the show, but that's what we're going with now. So always making a scene here at KHZTV.com every Friday at 1 o'clock. Today I have a very special guest with me. Today joining us is Lindsay Mclouth.
What's up, Baltimore?
Lindsay is married to Orioles outfielder Nate Mclouth. I'm sure the name rings a bell for you. She is also a travel agent and a fellow animal lover, I like to say. And we're happy to have her in the studio today. Thanks for joining us today, Lindsay.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. My pleasure. So I want to talk a little about you, give everybody a little background on you. Again, I like to just say for those who haven't joined the show before, we're here every Friday at 1 o'clock and a guest with us every week. So this is actually the second week in a row we've had an Oriole wife, so that's kind of cool. Good timing on that. Last week we had Dana Hoyles in. So let's just get that question out of the way right away as far as how you and Nate met.
It's a little bit of a long story, but I guess when I was, I hate to say this, but 13, and he was 16. I might have been on the verge of being 14. But our families were both in Gatlinburg, like vacationing and stuff, and we met at the resort we were staying at, and I guess I was in like the sauna with my younger sister, and Nate like sent his younger brother in to talk to me.
This story is so interesting already because it's like you're 13 years old in a sauna, and then there's boys entering into the sauna.
Yes.
This is a steamy story.
So then, of course, like a minute or two later, Nate made his way in and started talking, and we hung out that night, and like for the rest of the time we were there. And it's kind of funny because I think like the day that I went home, or the day that he went home, he wrote me a letter. And so when I got home, I got it, and he was like, "Oh, you guys should come to Michigan. Your family should come to Michigan." Da da da. Well, I still have the letter to this day. And so I know the next question is always like, "Did you guys date for that long?" No, not at all. So we like used to talk on AOL, AIM, whatever for, I guess, like a year or two after we met, and then we completely got out of contact for like, I guess 7 or 8 years. And then when he got traded to the Braves, I am from Knoxville, Tennessee, so we kind of started talking again, and 8 or 9 months later we got married. So I just think it's one of those things that was like meant to be.
I was just gonna say that that's such a great story, first of all, because I think it's like it's nice when, especially for somebody who's got a nice level of fame like Nate, to know that the person you're with knew you way before any of this happened. Yeah. But also, I think it's great when you have somebody that like, I'm the type of person, I crave familiarity. So like, I was the type that like, if you could put me in touch with a guy that I went to high school with or elementary school, I'm like, yes, let's date, because somehow I have this odd like sense of like, you know, nostalgia about it. But I think it's also nice because it's like, it's a sweet story of how it kind of like evolved. So
well, it's weird because the reason that we kind of like got back in contact when he got traded to Atlanta from the Pirates is because I was actually looking at taking a job in Atlanta. So I was like, I don't know anybody, and da-da-da-da-da. And on the night we were supposed to like hang out, that I was down there with my family, you know, I didn't go into it thinking like, oh, we're going to date or get married. You know, that was like the last thing on my mind. But I just thought it'd be cool, like, to catch up, and, you know, he likes sports. I used to play sports. We had that in common. Like, I'm kind of like a girl's guy, I guess. Or how do you say it?
Guy's girl?
Guy's girl. Girl's guy, guy's girl. I was like, you know, I get along with guys really well, and ended up, we hung out that night, and it was like just...
I was going to say, because you guys, I know, didn't date a real long time before you got married.
Yeah, right? It was only 8 months. So we got married in February of 2010, and we started dating in like June, July of 2009. So
do you think that has a lot to do with the fact that you felt that comfort level, like knowing him from so much longer, or was it just kind of like you felt like a passion about it and just kind of jumped on the moment?
It's so weird because he was like letting me into his building, because at that point I think he like lived in the W, because he was like traded during the middle of the season or whatever. And so we were just gonna go down to the bar and like have a drink and maybe like grab a bite to eat or something. And so in order for me to get into the garage, he had to come out to my car. So I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this guy in like 7 years. This is kind of weird. You know, what if we don't have anything to talk about?
Yeah.
And so he kind of got in my car, and we both sort of started laughing and we both sort of said, well, this is weird, you know, like, because we hadn't seen each other in so long, but I don't know, yeah. You know, of course I, like, did my research on him a little bit before we hung out. I didn't know if he was, like, going to try to be a ladies' man or something like that, you know, so I was sort of giving him, like, a hard time when we were at dinner, but, I mean, Nate's very, like, he's very shy, and so, like, he tried to talk to me, like, a lot that night and made conversation, and through the whole time we dated, and then we got married, and he, like, went back to being shy. What happened to you?
I almost just fell off my chair. The funny thing is, I could feel this chair was wobbly, and while you were talking, I immediately came to my mind of, what if I fell off this chair? Wouldn't that be a funny break? And then as I moved, my chair almost fell over. So
I think I would pee my pants.
I definitely would have peed my pants if that happened. If it does happen, you know, so stay tuned in to the entire show because God knows what's going to happen. No, I love that story, and I think it's I think another thing that people, like, you know, are fascinated about, you know, and somebody who's in your position of being married to someone in a professional sport is, like, what you just mentioned about him being traded, like, midway through a season, is it's like that your life picks up and moves for a big portion of the year. So, like, how many cities now have you guys lived in together other than your home base?
Well, if you count spring training, 1, 2, 3, 6.
Wow.
So we move 4 times a year. One time, we live in Tennessee, so one time from Tennessee to spring training, then from Florida, or wait, maybe it's 3 times. Florida to wherever they're playing in the season, and then back home. Yeah. Well, I say 4 because we just bought a house in Tennessee last off season.
Right.
So it felt like 4.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are, like, of the cities, and you don't necessarily have to say Baltimore, but, like, let's put Baltimore aside and take it out of the equation. Like, what are some cities that you've lived in now and, like, some things you liked about, or what was your favorite city that you got to live in? Okay.
We were not in Pittsburgh that long. So, just me personally, or Nate and I both?
Whichever.
Oh, well, my favorite city is Nashville. So, I went to school, like, right outside of Nashville, and that was sort of a big decision for us when we moved to Tennessee was, do we move to Knoxville or Nashville? And, of course, I was like, oh, well, all my friends are in Nashville, you know, like, we want to hang out. But we chose to move to Knoxville because my parents live there and have family around. But I love Nashville. If you've never been to Nashville, I mean, I feel like you have to go. Really? You don't even just have to love country music. Yeah. You know? To
I hear great things about it. I mean, I've never gotten to go. Like, I've been invited by some friends before, but I hear great things about it. And I love that southern charm where people are just so nice.
Everybody there's so nice. And I feel like it's a great place, like, for young people. Like, anyone like under the age of, like, 45, I guess. Like, there's a large range of people there, I guess, like, but the most would be, like, I think 23 to, like, 45. It's like a young group. They're hip, they're fun, like, you know, I don't know. I just think it's cool there because a lot of people, like, go out and do stuff, and they just have a lot of stuff to do.
Now, being that this is your second season in Baltimore, second baseball season, living here, like, what are some of the biggest differences you notice between here and the South?
In the South.
Or just things that you notice that are, like, characteristic of Baltimore, that if someone asked you what Baltimore's like.
Okay.
Leave the murder statistics out of that.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, I would say that, like, people aren't, I'm not saying when I say that they're not friendly.
It's not like the South.
It's not like the South, though. People are very, like, friendly, talkative, like, you don't hear a lot of, like, thank yous or please here, you know, but you know, I haven't really gone out that much, so I can't.
But I think, and it's funny you bring that up because there was just an article in the Sun paper where they did 100 reasons Baltimore's better than D.C., and I guess it was because D.C. had been ragging on Baltimore for a little while. So I think it's subjective because coming from the South where it's, like, exceptionally friendly, like, I know when I walk into a place, they're like, you feel like everyone's happy to see you. They're like, hi, hey, how are you? How's it going? Da-da-da. And you're like, hey, do I know you? No, I don't, but great. Like, I'm like that type where I always say, like, thank you, whatever. But I think in a comparison, like, if you were in D.C., like, if Nate was playing for the Nationals and you were staying in D.C. and then came here, you would probably have a completely different perspective because for this area we're in, we're probably, like, the southern charm of that. Like, but as compared to where you're coming from, it's, like, night and day, you know? So I can see that, like, perspective. That's why I'm always interested to see what people's perspectives are on, like, the city from outside.
I think the biggest thing would be traffic. Oh. I get nervous, like, driving here. Like, I feel like I sweat in my car. Like, trying to change lanes, it's, like, unbelievable. I seriously feel like I'm going to get in an accident, like, every single time. But I will say, like, we love Baltimore. I love Baltimore. We kind of live close to Fells Point, so I love that little area. I think it's like super
very
charming.
Very
on
charming.
The water.
Yeah.
I love Baltimore. I mean, and when I say that it's not as friendly, I'm not saying that people aren't friendly.
Oh, of course.
But
It's like night and day. It's kind of like you could have the best Italian restaurant in New York, and if somebody from Italy comes in there, they're not going to feel like it's real Italian food. So it's all subjective, you know? Like, I don't think that anybody's thinking you're not thinking Baltimore's friendly.
And it's definitely like city living versus like suburban living. You know what I mean? It's two different types of cities.
Yeah. And also, like, and that's something that I noticed about you is it's like that when you see like people, everyone's a product of their environment. So like I think I'm like a friendly person. Like I like to say hi and things. But when I look at you and like just, you know, because we live near each other and like I see how like you pretty much have already introduced yourself to like everyone in the building and you know the names of their dogs. It's like you can see that part of your personality that comes out, that it's like it's just natural to you to like, why wouldn't you speak to every person that's around you? Whereas I'm like, even though I think I'm friendly, there's probably people that I pass 10 times a day and like don't know their name or their dog's name, you know?
Nate could probably, if there was one thing he would change about me, it'd probably be that I would talk a little less than I did.
Well, you know, I'm sure in every marriage or something everybody would change about. But it's nice to hear like a perspective. Like, do you have some favorite places that you found since you've been in Baltimore? Not necessarily even restaurants, but just favorite anything.
Yeah, I mean, I like Slante in Fells Point. I like all the places in Fells. I love Harbor East. Like, I think that's such a cool area. I wouldn't even mind living down in Harbor East, except for we have a dog named Lexi, so.
Who's a model.
Yeah.
That's why when the calendar came out with all the Orioles and their pets, I'm like, Lexi, you're a model now. You have a calendar shoot.
She's a model in my phone. If you went through my picture book in my phone, she's definitely a model there.
I've seen it on your Instagram.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really do. I like everything here. The one thing that, like, I love being here, like, in the summers, like, you can, like, walk around the water, and it's so pretty out,
and Fells, too, like, whenever anybody's, like, out in that Fells area, it's quieter than people expect it to be. It's, like, people, foot traffic-wise, it's busy, but it's quiet. Like, you can sit there, and, like, even on a Saturday night, if you're, like, a block away at, like, a residence, you don't hear the bars that are just, like, a block away from you. So that's nice about it, which you don't get in a lot of cities.
That's probably a big misconception that you, like, it's really loud and crazy down there, because I don't feel like that. Like, I'm kind of a homebody, and we're more quiet people, you know? We don't, like, go out and party a ton, but I don't feel like that's a distraction, like, at all whatsoever.
So, okay, so yesterday was an off day. So what is a typical, like, off day for you at home that, like, when Nate actually gets to see you? Because, like, even when he's playing a night game, he's got to be at the stadium at, like, what time? Like, early?
So Nate's, every player's different, but, like, Nate, he goes in early,
That does not surprise me.
Yeah. He's very, like, OCD about, like,
he
his
seems
routine.
very focused. From the first time that he joined the team last year, and I would watch him, I've told you this before, when I would watch him during the games, I'm like, he's so focused. He's one of those guys that, like, and I know he had a couple situations last week, I think, when this came up, but, like, if he's a guy that gets up in the ninth and, like, you know, men are on, like, not everybody can deliver in that situation, but I don't get nervous. I'm not worried he's going to get psyched out in it because he's a very focused, so it does not surprise me he gets to work early.
So he probably goes around, like, 1:30, and then, you know, he doesn't get home till 11:30. So I think that a lot of people don't understand, like, how little you get to, like, see your husband.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's definitely glamorized, I think, from the outside by, like, girls that are like, oh, you know, like, and they want to be that, like, baseball wife or football wife or basketball wife. And then, you know, now, like, more and more people are seeing that. I mean, it's a big, like, change. I mean, you have to give up, like, your life for a certain amount of time to move. So, you know, fortunately with the job that you do, having, you know, being a travel agent and something you can do from elsewhere, you're very fortunate that way. Because if you had, like, an office position in a place, I mean, you'd really never see him.
I would never see him. I think that this lifestyle is not for everybody. I would definitely say that it's not for girls who are needy. You know, because, like, you're just away so much, or your husband's away so much and you're by yourself a lot, and sometimes that means being in cities that you don't know anybody, you don't have any friends. I feel
and he's working, so it's like, even if you're in another city with him, it's not like you get to, like, enjoy the city together.
Yeah, exactly. But on a typical off day, like, he'll probably kill me for saying this, but
maybe he's turned it off already.
Yeah, we'll hope that he's already out on the field. No, I let him sleep some. Sometimes he sleeps a little more than I would hope. You know, I'm always like, get up. I don't get to see you, like, at all, so let's.
And that makes sense, because you figure if it was, he could just as easily be the same way with you. Sorry, I'm checking tweets. Keep talking.
No, that's okay. So he just, or we'll go to lunch. Maybe we'll. Like yesterday we went to the mall. We'll take Lexi for a walk. Go out to dinner. We try to have like a date day. If that makes sense.
It does. I think that's nice.
But cute. We also like to just lay in bed and like rent movies. So Nate is more of a homebody than I am, so if I let him just sit in the apartment.
For those who are listening on the radio, I just knocked my wrist into my microphone. Ignore me. Right.
If I let him sit in the apartment all day and watch TV, he would. So we can kind of go either way. That's what we do a lot in the off season.
But sometimes that's nice because that's actually spending time together. Like, even if you're watching a movie, but it's like, it's a little bit more like quality of time together, you know, when you don't get that much quantity.
Yeah.
So.
I try to keep him out of the bed, though, because he'll fall asleep.
I was like, out of the bed while just get away. Like, stay out of my bed. Well, so how many games? I know, like, in the beginning of the season, like, I text you a lot when I'm at the games, because obviously with me, like, I go all the time, because I'm a fan going to the games. You know, it's not like, but, so how many games do you get to go to, like, do you think, or
how many
often?
games do I get
or
to
do you,
go
like,
to, or how many games do I go to?
I know you could go, but I mean, like, when I say get to, I mean, like, how many do you make it to?
Yeah.
Because, again, you're kind of sitting there by yourself a lot of time. I mean, there's other wives in the section they seat you in, but it's not like going, and I know you won't sit in my seats because you said it's too dangerous because of what happened to Nate's teammate in Atlanta.
You know, this is where I start feeling bad when people ask me, oh, how many games do you go to? I maybe have been to like 8 or 9 games this year. I don't go to games because I think a lot of people are going to think I'm so cheap, but I'm saying this in like the nicest way possible. We have to pay for tickets, so like I'm like, why do I need to go to a game? They can sell that ticket to someone else.
I think that's a fair view of it, though. Like, it's like, that's your husband. You want to go to sport, but it would be no different than, like, if your husband was a bartender and worked, like, 7 nights a week. You can't necessarily go and pay to see him, like, 7 nights a week when, like, you could wait and see him at home or, like, some, you know, like somebody else on the table.
I am the type of person, like, I like to, like, watch his expression or, you know, see what's going on. So here's my thing. This is really just it's just an excuse to make me go to the gym. So I tell myself, instead of going to the game, I go down to the gym and turn it on the TV and I run. So
that's good. It's still
it's
support.
My way of getting myself to the gym.
It's still support.
Nate doesn't care, like, either way. We try our best to, like, I feel like if I revolve my life around baseball, then that's all I have to talk about or all I have to, you know, do because I don't have anything else. So in order to keep myself from doing that type of stuff, you know, I try to, like, have my own, like you and I, like, we'll go grab a drink and watch it on TV or, you know, whatever. I mean, I just like watching it on TV. I think I get muted if they're saying something bad about my husband.
Well, generally, fortunately, and we'll talk about that a little later, like, you haven't had much of that in Baltimore, which is good, because, you know, I can't imagine what that's like. When you were just talking about the lifestyle in general, I think that also we've talked about this where, like, you know, girls, like, always think, like, oh, like, you know, my husband, like, if he was a baseball player, like, they worry about the trust issue, and it's like, well, you know, your husband has to worry the same way about a wife. I'm not saying you specifically, obviously, but, like, they have to worry because while the husband's away, the wife could be doing that. So I think a big important aspect in the relationship is trust, and I think nowadays less and less people have that, because I know for a fact, I watch these girls all the time, and I talk about this, that will sit there and they're going on about how much they love Chris Davis. They're going on about, you know, all the guys on the team. They're like, oh, he's so hot. And I'm the one sitting there going, he's married. And they're like, I'm like, it's one thing if you just say he's attractive. They're like, oh my God, I want to make out with Chris Davis. And I'm like, he's married.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I know. I'm like, well, what are you saying about yourself then? I'm like, what are you saying? Like, you just are a homewrecker? Like, what is your issue here? So I think that that's a big aspect, like, when you can have trust in a relationship, and I know you and Nate, like, keep communication, like, while he's gone, and, like, that comfort level is really, really important. Are we getting ready to go into our first break? Yeah, okay. Well, this is a good place. We'll take a little break here. We'll take a song break in case either of us needs to use the facilities. Just kidding. But, stick with us if you're listening on the radio or if you're watching online at khztv.com. We'll be back after this song break with more Gina Geppi Social Scene and Lindsay Mclouth. Hey, welcome back. We're here with more of Gina Geppi's Social Scene on KHZTV.com with our special guest today, Lindsay Mclouth, who's joining us. And I want to thank everybody again for tuning in. There's local stations that are listed on the website that you can tune in if you're not able to catch us online. But I always encourage everybody to watch the online version because you get the video feed as well as the audio. So we're taking tweets at KHZTV for any questions you have about Lindsay. And, of course, a lot of our listeners who are fortunate enough to have my cell phone number.
Or Nate. Yeah. Questions about Nate.
I know. Or questions about Nate either. Or I told Lindsay last night, I was like, Nate can send us some questions. But of course, I'm sure he's getting his practice on right now. Oh, okay. This is a question actually from my mom because my mom is ridiculous. I love you, Mom. This is such a funny question. My mom wrote, "Does Nate chew bubble gum on his off days?"
He does.
I know. I think I saw him chewing gum last night.
The only time he takes it out is when we go to sleep. So, and that's just so because he doesn't want it to get in his nice hair.
I feel like that would give me lockjaw. Like when I watch Adam and he's chewing that often, I'm like, I feel like when you're not chewing, your mouth would like.
He doesn't really chew that often, but I think it's like a stress thing. Like during the game, it's just, I don't know. It's like squeezing like a stress ball or chewing gum.
It makes sense. It makes sense. I have another one. This is actually a good question. We got 2 tweets from Jenny, who's a big follower of our show. Thanks for tuning in as usual, Jenny. And she was the one who first said how much do we love her accent. Adorable. Her great southern accent. But then she said, is Lindsay thinking about planning a family yet?
Ooh.
Tough one, right? Right for the important questions.
You know, Nate and I, we like kids. Like, we love kids. We love other people's kids.
They love Lexi, their dog.
Yeah, we love our dog. You know, having a kid is one of those things, like, I feel like it's done 3 ways. It's either planned, it's either by mistake, but still a good thing, you know, or, well, you either look at it 3 ways. It's either you plan it, it's by mistake, or you just don't do it. Don't do it, yeah. And we're sort of at that stage. We just don't really know. Nate likes his quiet time, so he gets kind of annoyed, like with screaming and hollering and whatever else. And it's a big commitment. We're still pretty selfish, I would say. And when I say selfish, I mean like with our time together.
Well, also, I think a big part of it is because you don't have a lot of time even just together.
Yeah.
So, like, and for Nate, I think, who seems like, I just see the way he is with your dog, Lexi, and how he's, like, so, like, attentive to her, that having a child and not being able to spend that much time with your child during the work season, and Nate's still young, so, like, it's not like he's in retirement years.
Right.
So, not being able to see her, like, when I watch these guys, they have to go on the paternity list because it's mid-season when their wife's going into labor, terrible, and, like, ideally you would probably be in Tennessee at the time because you'd want to be around your family.
Right.
You wouldn't be in Baltimore. So, like, I think that's a big stress to have added on you with the additional stress.
Yeah, and it's a big decision to make, you know? I mean, having a child, it's not something you should, like, take lightly. Like, you know, if Nate and I have a kid, we want to put, like, 100% into our child. You know, we don't want to feel like, oh, well, I wish we could just go out to dinner by ourselves
But you are expanding your family.
We are, yes. We are getting another puppy. So Lexi's a Cavalier King Charles, and she's a little ruby if you haven't seen her.
Get the calendar, Orioles.com.
Yeah, get
money
the calendar.
goes to, I think is it Barks?
Barks.
Yeah, Barks. It raises money for Barks. So go on Orioles.com. I think it's like $15 for the calendar, but it's the Orioles all with their pets. So Lexi is a centerfold.
Next year maybe we'll have, we don't have a name yet. Maybe that'd be cool if some people tweeted in some names.
Yeah, tweet in. Either me or KHGTV. Tweet in suggestions for a name, or Lexi's little, it'll be a sister, right?
Lexi's little sister, yeah, and she's going to be a black and tan Cavalier. So
I bet you want to bet all these answers will be like baseball themed. People will be like, Bun! Name her Bun!
I thought it was like cute, like Lexi and then Lucy, Lexi, Chloe. Nate was like, it doesn't have to. Lola, I love Lola. Lexi doesn't have, or Nate was like, it doesn't have to rhyme with Lexi, and I was like, but it's cute if it does.
Yeah, it's cute if they like tie together like a little link. Like I was teasing Dana Hoyles last week because all her sons have D names.
Oh.
And so I was like teasing her, making up other D names. I know what her sons' names are, but she has like Derek, Dalton, and Drew.
Oh.
And so I was like, how'd you go with all D names? She's like, oh, because we're gonna name all the D's after Dana, like, and then and, like all the boys, and then the girls would be C's. They never had any girls.
Oh,
so
that's
like,
cute.
I was like, oh, and then Chris is just left out there.
Oh.
None of the girls.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it makes sense to think that through because that is a really big commitment. So I think that some people don't think it through, and you want to be fair to the child. That it's like, you know, it doesn't matter how great of people you are and how great parents you would be if your
Right.
lifestyle doesn't fit at the time.
Right.
Then that makes it exceptionally
It's
tough.
funny, too, because every girl on the team's always like, oh, when you're having kids, you should have a kid. You know, because I babysit some of the girls, like, kids, like, occasionally. And they're like, you're so good with kids. And I'm like, here's the great thing about babysitting. Like, I get to leave. You know?
I get to sleep at night. I get to give them
come,
back.
I play,
It's also
I
a
leave.
lot less expensive. Babies are expensive. You
Yeah,
know what
they
I
are.
mean? But it's like, and you joke and say, like, or you say that you guys are selfish right now, and it's like the word selfish comes off like such a horrible connotation.
Yeah,
but
I
it
don't
is-
mean it that way.
Right. But it is. It's okay to recognize when your needs right now,
Right.
like, need to be fulfilled, like, in a certain area of your life, and that
Right.
you don't necessarily have more to give at the
Yeah.
time. It's you know, it'd be great I would love to have 15 animals in my house, but I don't have the time
Yeah.
to donate to 15 animals.
Yeah.
I'm barely spreading it between the 2 that I have. you
I
know?
do love kids, though. Like, I feel like they're such a blessing. And I actually used to nanny, like, before I got, like, my first job, like, right out of college. And I nannied for probably, like, a year and a half. And I'm still so close to that family. And I just remember rocking them to sleep and them patting me on the back and telling me they loved me. And
It's a great feeling.
yeah, I think it's such a good feeling. And when I say, like, I just don't know, it's just, right now, we're not at that place in our life.
I think it's something that if you're leaning one more, I
Yeah.
don't think anybody's ever 100% ready for it, but if you're leaning, like, then it's smart to wait.
Yeah, I
you
think
know?
we'll start talking about it when Nate's about to retire, so that when we have them, he can
enjoy
be the
it.
babysitter.
Yeah.
You know?
You can enjoy it, though.
Yeah,
You can actually
yeah.
have, I think that would be hard to be, like,
Yeah.
you know, distanced away.
Exactly, yeah. And that's something that we talk about occasionally. It's just not something we've made, like, a solid decision on just yet. So we'll see. I could come back next year and, like, be carrying twins. You never know.
You really never do. You really never do.
know.
I have a couple more questions for you from
All
some
right.
of our listeners. So, one of the questions is, and this kind of relates to what we were just talking about.
All right.
And this is from Nicole, and he says, "Have you begun to think about life after baseball? Like plans that you guys have? Maybe like you just mentioned that once he
Yeah.
retires, maybe. Like,
Yeah. So a little bit of my background, I used to be the sales manager for Sandals and Beaches Resorts. So that's sort of how I got into travel. And they're great resorts. I've been to all of them. I traveled a lot at that point. So I love traveling. I think that if there's anything you should do before kids or when you're young or just have an opportunity to do anything, it's like to see the world, you
Right.
know?
Yeah,
and I happen
absolutely.
to be a huge fan of the beach. So
Mhm.
we like to travel. We don't do it that often now in the off season because Nate really enjoys his time at home. But it's something that we say, like, okay, like your first year when you're done, or maybe first year or two, like we're gonna go places and experience stuff and relax because, even in the off season, like when we go on vacation, which is typically like November or December, it's always in your mind, like it's right around the corner that the season's about to start up.
Kind of like summer when you're in school. It's
Yeah.
like you enjoy summer, but at the same time, once August hits and like
Yeah.
school's coming back at the end, you're kind of like,
Yeah.
"Ah."
And
Like-
it's really sad, like, because Nate, sometimes we get home and he's like, oh, I don't want to leave. I love being home so much. And so vacation comes around and he really doesn't get excited about it till like the day before we leave because he doesn't want to leave our house. But I'm talking about it like 2 months in advance. I'm like, okay, we got to do this and this and go here and here. But it's so nice. Like when we actually do get on vacation, he always says like, I didn't really want to leave. He's like, but it's nice, like to get to go on vacation and spend time together and relax. And so we really take advantage of that time. But that's something that we'll do a lot more of. And Nate always has these bright ideas to start all these businesses. He changes from 1 week to the next what he's going to do. So I'm just like, honey, stick with what you know, okay? Stick with what you know.
Well, at least he's contemplating life after baseball,
Yeah.
too.
So he does have some
traveling will
ideas.
give him a lot of time to make business plans.
Exactly.
Mike wants to know, what's your favorite meal?
My favorite meal.
And this is a friend of mine, so his follow-up question is, how awesome is brunch? Because he's a big lover of brunch. And I know you guys like brunch like we do,
Yeah,
too.
I like brunch.
But yeah.
What's my favorite meal? Like, do you think he means in Baltimore?
I think he means
or just in general?
What's your favorite thing to eat?
Okay, so this is sort of a random dish, and I just had it this past off season, but pork schnitzel. I'm not even that big of a fan of pork, but it's like a German dish, and we had it at this little like hole-in-the-wall restaurant in Knoxville, and it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, if I had to pick one thing to live off of, it would be steak. I'm obsessed with steak. and I love Japanese food.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yep.
So there you go. That answers your
That's more
question.
than a couple, sorry.
I actually know the answer to this question we just got, but it's a good one. But explain the choice behind the song that Nate uses when he gets up to bat, because everybody gets to pick their song. And so, like, I know that's a big question. Somebody once told me, like, the speculation in the stadium was this guy's like, I think it's because he kind of looks like the lead singer of the band that sings that. And I was like,
oh.
I was like,
I've never even seen the lead singer, so I don't know.
But, yeah, so you want to explain, like, what the
first, I
philosophy is?
guess I should tell you that Nate just changed his come out song.
Did he?
He did. He, went through like a 4 or 5 game spell of like not getting a hit. So he was like, nope, that's bad luck now. Can't play that anymore.
So I guess that answers whether he's superstitious.
Yeah. So, but he played that song because.
Which was Kyrie. Kyrie.
Is it weird that I don't even know how to say it?
No. Kyrie.
However you say it.
Yeah.
And it's basically like saying, I think that like, God be with you.
On the road that you travel.
Yeah, on the road that you travel. So I think it's just, Nate always tries to, Nate and I are Christians, and he always tries to portray himself as,
right.
strong follower, and that's why you never see him, like, cuss on the field or do anything. And not like that that's bad, because I think everybody gets in the heat of the moment. I'd be throwing my helmet, throwing my bat, breaking stuff. But, I think he just likes that song, and then he feels like that God's got him this far, so.
So, has he already debuted the new song? Because I haven't been to the last couple games, or is he debuted?
I want to say he did it not yesterday, obviously, because they were off, but the day before. Because yesterday he goes, I changed my come out song. And I was like, oh, really? And I was like, why? And he played for me what he changed it to. He's like, yeah, I didn't get a hit for like 4 or 5 games. He was like, that just wasn't going well for me. So
what's the song he's using now? Not remember?
I don't remember.
Oh.
Darn.
I'll find out.
I'm sorry. I'll text him and ask him.
Yeah, see if he's like paying attention, and we'll get a text like, this is like Nate is our third party in the show right now.
Oh, he sent me a text. He said, maybe you should stop fixing your hair.
See, there's no excuse for anybody who's not tuned into the show, because Nate, who's at the field right now, is even watching the show. So, a great question we got. So we talked about how you're a travel agent, and you don't do like, regular like travel agent like advertise and pull, but you do it more within the industry for like MLB players and their families and such, which is nice because it's a great opportunity for you as far as you get to meet people on a regular basis that are great clients. But one of the questions we got was from Mike, and he said he knows it's August and a lot of people think vacation season's over. What's a great after summer vacation spot in your opinion?
After summer vacation spot, I feel like the Caribbean and Mexico are always good spots. I love Mexico. Like, I could go there every single year.
You were just there not too long ago, right?
Yeah, I was. I went with my parents, actually. I think that the service there is awesome.
What's your favorite spot in Mexico? Like Cozumel or
we've been to Playa del Carmen, Cancun, and Cabo. And Nate and I loved Cabo. Cabo's amazing. We stayed at, what was the place we stayed at? Oh, now I'm going to draw a blank. I can't remember. I'll tell you in a minute. But yeah, it was like right by the downtown area in Cabo San Lucas, and you could like walk through a tunnel from our resort, and you could get to the downtown area, and there was lots of stuff to do, like little places to eat, so we loved that. But I really like going anywhere that's tropical. Yeah. I'm not somebody who, wants
to hike a mountain.
On
Mount Everest.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do anything like that. I want to like lay on the beach and like have a margarita, sit in the pool. I like everywhere though. I've never been to Bora Bora, but I sell it. Obviously, everybody wants to go there. I think Nate and I want to go to like South Africa and Australia one day.
Yeah, the thing for me is I think that'd be an amazing vacation. It's just such a trek to get there.
It is. You'd basically have to like knock me out with a horse tranquilizer because I'm like scared of flying. I know that's weird that I'm a travel agent. I'm scared of flying, but
put everybody else on the plane.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think anywhere tropical and warm, whenever you can get away from the cold weather, I say go.
Yeah.
But the best time to go, like hurricane season, is between like August and like typically ends November 4th. And so if you're gonna go in the winter, it's better to go in like mid-November, December, January, those times. I know we went to Atlantis last year, and we went the second week of November, which was technically after that, and it was still slightly windy and stuff. So I try to like lure people away from that time.
Now, when you were just talking about Mexico, I know one of the big things that people ask all the time is about, because they hear don't drink the water in certain places, and then somebody just told me a horror story about how they had pasta when they were on an island, and because the pasta was cooked in the water, they got really sick from that. And I was like, even boiled water? Like, so who knows? But like, what is your, like, is there any precautions that you take when you go on vacation in certain places as far as like,
yeah, I always laugh because my dad's always like, okay, we need to like get bottled water and brush our teeth with it and da-da-da-da-da. Like, it's not that big of a deal, you know, like, it's okay. I don't drink the water, like, out of the faucet by any means. They always have bottled water, like, on property.
Now, what about with the ice? Like, if you're getting a frozen drink or you're getting a drink with ice in it?
You know, I'm not real weird about that either. I think if you go to, like, a more, like, Americanized place, for instance, I feel like Cabo is very, like, Americanized. I mean, it's not, but for Mexico it is. You know what I mean? So I think that they know those fears are there for people, and they've, like, gone out of their way to sort of, like, take all precautions to stop that and whatnot. But, yeah, I drink the bottled water there. I mean, I've never gotten sick or anything.
Maybe you're immune because you travel so much.
Yeah, but that's with any island. That's not just Mexico. I mean, that's even in the Caribbean. You know, people will tell you not to drink the water there, too. So I just think drink the water, bottled water they have on property, and you'll be good.
Okay. What's your number one travel tip that you would give anybody, just generally?
Number one travel tip that I would give anybody? You're going to stump me on that
Think about it. We're going to go to a break.
All
I'm going to give you a song break to think about it. We'll be back with more Gina Geppi Social Scene of Lindsay Mclouth right after this song break. Stay with us. Hey, what's up? That was a quick break. We were having a little song slow-mo issue, but don't worry about that. That's fine. Just gives us more time to talk anyway. So before the brief break, I was talking with, we were talking about travel, and I asked Lindsay what her number one travel tip is. So what's your number one travel tip you would give?
Sorry, I got a little nervous there.
That's all right. Questions on the spot. Do that.
Yeah. My number one travel tip would be to always bring a carry-on with, like, a change of clothes, bathing suit, toothbrush, because there's been so many times that the airlines have lost your baggage. And that stinks when you're on vacation because, you know, you only have a limited amount of time and no one wants to have to wear the same clothes 2 days in a row. So I would recommend to all my clients to do that. And then someone asked, too, what's my favorite place, I think. And the place I was trying to think of was my favorite place that Nate and I have ever been is Capella Pedregal in Cabo San Lucas. It's amazing.
Good one. And that's coming from a travel agent. So well-traveled. So it's a good one. Remember that one. So funny little anecdote leading to this section, because I wanted to talk to Lindsay. I had let her know I wanted to talk a little bit about different topics, whether it was baseball, dating, and I mentioned the word fashion. And I guess that when you shared with Nate that we were going to be talking about fashion, share what his response to that was.
Yeah, I was like, hey, I'm going to be on this radio show. Isn't that cool? And he's like, yeah. And he was like, what are you going to talk about? I was like, oh, you know, we'll talk about, like, boys, dating, fashion. And he goes, what do you know about fashion? You wear workout clothes all the time.
I love that was his take on the whole scenario. So
I do, though. I'm notorious for that. I mean...
But if you're not going anywhere and you're working out, like, what's the big deal? You know, like, I'm a big believer. Like, my mom wears this brand of clothing. It's called Fresh Produce. And I know that sounds funny. But it's, like, comfy, like, dresses and stuff like that. And my mom's like, you'll be happy to know I'm getting rid of a bunch of my Fresh Produce. I said, Mom, I don't have a problem with you wearing it at the beach or around the house. But when we go out somewhere, I'm like... You have so many nice clothes. Yeah. Like, I saw you last night. Like, you looked adorable. I kept telling you, like, little fedora on and, like, everything all, like, and I've seen you, like, you have this one really cute maxi dress that I saw you wearing.
I'm obsessed with maxi dresses.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into talking about. Because as those of you who are listening for the first time or don't really know a little bit about me, I write the singles column every month for Baltimore Magazine. And on newsstands today is the new issue. This is the September issue, and it's the style issue. So I thought that was a great segue into Lindsay and I being able to talk about some of our personal style choices, what we're big into, what we talked about this a little bit in the first week that I did the show, but we're going to revisit what some of our favorite fashion trends have been, what some of our fashion nightmares. So right now, what would you say? Like you were saying, like maxi dresses.
I love wearing maxi dresses. Like I'm really into like what's comfortable. Like I'm kind of casual. I mean, I'll dress up like occasionally, but I'm not the type of girl you're going to see in wearing like a short dress or, you know, whatever. Maybe I'm just not that secure with myself. But I love fedoras. Yeah. I like rolled up jeans and a t-shirt, you know, flip-flops.
Now, if you were going to go out to like a fancy, like really fancy event, like what style formal clothes do you go for? Are you into more like gowns? Are you into like a cocktail
I would wear
dress?
a cocktail dress then. Yeah, I would wear a cocktail dress then.
Yeah.
So like I know there's like Project Runway is coming up on
And yes, she
Monday.
said Project
Runway.
It's an animals event. So.
Yes, it's on Monday.
Not a speech impediment.
Yeah.
Project Runway.
Yeah. And basically, it's for like all the guys that did like the Show Your Soft Side campaign. And so we went to like get outfits because there's a boutique like sponsoring it and whatnot. And so they kept putting me in like these dresses. I was like, this is not me. Like, I can't wear this. I can't pull this off, you know. And then they brought out this like black and like leathery dress, like cocktail dress. And I would say like that's my style. I love dark stuff, like leather, whatever. I was like,
a little bit of an edge to it, like sexy, but still a little bit of an edge.
I would say,
like you're not going to wear like
stuff,
8 layers of ruffles.
No, exactly, or
which is funny because being that a Southern girl, I think people's immediate thought would be that you'd be big into like ruffles and gingham and lace trims and things like that. You know,
I love dark stuff. Obviously, I'm wearing black today, but like. I think a lot of people, when they come in my house at home, they're like, your house is really dark. Like, I like dark colors. Like, I like really dark, rich colors, so.
What do you think the number one fashion mistake you've ever made in the past was? When you look back at pictures and you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
I don't know. I feel like I've always dressed, like, pretty decent or good. Like, you can't go wrong in too many ways wearing jeans and a tank top or whatever.
That's fair. Because you're not an extremist as far as trends. Like, you probably don't get wrapped up into, like, what's hot just at the moment.
Yeah. Like, I don't really buy, like, big name brand clothes or, you know, whatnot. But I think maybe in college, like, shoes that I bought, like, I remember I had these, like, iridescent heels. But I loved them because you could wear them with anything because it's like, then they would go with the color of what you were wearing, you know. Maybe that. I don't know.
I was going to say, because when I was getting dressed today, I was thinking about, like, things I'm obsessed with. And, like, my current thing is not even a product, so to speak. I'm obsessed with YouTube tutorials. Like, when I see something and, like, whatever it is, I, like, go because there's somebody showing it on YouTube. And I want the one that's most clear and concise. Like, you know, whether it's how to do your eyebrows, it's how to do your eyeliner, it's how to do whatever. Like, I feel like it's such a great, like outlet to have, like a resource to be able to say, like, oh, let me look this up. So, like, that's one of my current obsessions right now is, like,
have you ever seen Polyvore?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I'm obsessed with that website.
How often a week do you think you go on that website?
Oh, I mean, maybe like once every couple weeks. But what happens is I'm on Instagram, and so I'm like, I guess you'd call it friends. I don't know. Friends with this girl that she was posting like this fashion stuff like on the main page. So I friended her because I was like, oh, I like these outfits she's putting together. And then realized they were coming from Polyvore, and she was taking them from like all different people. So I like have got on there and like friended people that I think like put good outfits together. Yeah,
see, I like I've been using Instagram a lot, like in the fashion aspect of it. Like there's a lot of great like little like ones on there that I follow because I'm like, oh, and they're cute, like inexpensive dresses. Yeah. So that's my thing. You're not gonna see me. I'm not a Neiman's girl. Like I just,
me neither.
I feel like I have such a large collection of clothes. Like if I'm gonna wear something nice, I'm chances are gonna pair it with something not so expensive.
Right.
Because I just feel like. Again, with you, I like to be comfortable, but also if God forbid anything happens to it, I don't want to feel like my day is ruined because I got a snag in my dress because it was, you know, $800. I want to be like, oh, well, that's fine. This was $20 at Walmart. I'm fine with that, you know? Like,
it's funny, too, because, like, I don't have, like, I guess, like, a high-end brand purse. Like, a lot of people do, but I've never had, like, a Coach or a Louis Vuitton or anything like that because I'm so rough with my purses. Like I throw them around and lay them on the ground and whatever, and like I just can't imagine like spending that type of money and then getting something on it. So like I think I have like a big Buddha purse right now, and normally they're like $100, but I found mine at DSW for like $39.95. Like that's my style, you know what I mean?
And you gotta love it because then if something happens to it, it's like basically like sunglasses. I get that people like to invest a lot in sunglasses, and more power to you. But back in the day, like the way day, like the 90s, I used to buy Oakleys all the time, and they'd always get scratched. They'd always get scratched. Now I could buy a pair of glasses at like Forever 21, and they will be perfect till the day I die. They will outlast me. Like I'm just so more. I'd rather have like a ton of them that aren't so expensive than having just like a couple nice pairs.
That's why I like Polyvore too, is because some people will put like high-end looks on there And then other people will try to copy the look, but with something that's not nearly as expensive.
And see, that's what I'm
that person that tries to copy them.
Yeah, and that's what I want to do. Like, I had talked about wanting to do that on the show, actually, because we have the green screen room here that we do a lot of our features on KHCTV.com, and that's something I had talked to our producer Tracy about, wanting to do one of those challenges where people, like, go out and find something that a celebrity's wearing but find it for a cheaper price, because I think it's a fun little challenge.
Yeah.
I've got another one of my obsessions. I've gotten big into vintage lately, and I never was like into it. I was like, it sounds terrible, but I'm like, I don't want to wear anything somebody else wore. And then I just kind of get in the mode where I was like, first of all, not all vintage is pre-worn. People are mistaken. Like, some things come from warehouses and still even have tags on them. But otherwise, I'm like, anything that I bought that was tried on by somebody else in a store has been worn by them. I mean, I've purchased clothes in a department store before and seen, like, deodorant marks on them. So it's not that big. But I had the cutest dress I got the other day at Killer Trash in Fells Point, and it probably wasn't even, like, vintage, like, far away. It was probably, like, you know, couple years old, like, I don't know, but it had that style and I loved it. But that's another obsession of mine right now that I get, like, big into it. Etsy. I'll sit on there all day long.
Oh, I love Etsy.
I will sit on there all day long.
I did not know that people, like, do furniture on there and, like, athletes and, like, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
like
think
painted
that's
furniture.
So cool.
Like, you can find, like, really, they call it upcycling. When you buy something, my brother actually bought me, and if you're listening, Josh, I still don't have it. He bought me an old school, like, 50s TV, took the tube out because the tube was broken, and then he painted it black and hot pink. And he was like, it's so cute. And he's like, got it in his garage still, but he's like, he just did it randomly, bought the like TV cheap on like, you know, on Craigslist, I think, and then did the TV up. And he's like, you can either use it as like, you can put an aquarium in where the tube was, you can put a flat screen TV in where the tube was, or I'm going to use it as like a little nightstand kind of, like next to my bed. Or you can do it like a bar and put like the bottles in there because it closes off, but you can like, you know, do really whatever you want with it. But I love that idea of like the upcycling. And a lot of people are doing that now with clothes too, where they take it and they just kind of, you know, just kick it up a notch. Speaking
of Polyvore too, so I was on there a couple weeks ago and I saw this brown purse and it was like from Banana Republic. I think it was like $375 if you tried to buy it. And of course they're like sold out because like once something big hits on Polyvore, you have to basically like buy it like quick.
It's one of the sites that comes up a lot when I Google clothing. Like Polyvore is one of the first sites that comes up when I'm looking up stuff.
Well, I was like, either way, I'm not spending $375 on a purse. So I ended up walking into a consignment store when I was at home in Knoxville, and I swear to you not, they had the same purse. It was the Banana Republic purse, and they were selling it for $50, and it was just barely tarnished on one of the things. I was like, why would I not get this? You know, I was in love with it. I was like, this is what happens when you bargain shop.
Yep, and I love it. Like, nothing feels better. Like, I've made a rule with certain stores when I go into them, I only look at the sale rack. Yeah. I'm like, because this is the same stuff I was looking at on the regular rack only a couple months ago. I'm like, let me go in. Somebody was just telling me, actually my tanning girl, Noelle, was telling me that she goes in and she always buys shoes at Journeys, like, after season. Yeah. Because she gets them, like, real cheap. And so she had the cutest pair of, like, heels on with, like, a crystal bow on them the other night. She's like, oh, I always get them cheap because I go off season. Same thing with bathing suits, especially for somebody that travels like year round. Then it's like, why would I not buy the bathing suits? I hate that in August you go to a store and where it's still summer and swimsuit season and you can't find bathing suits. You just find bottoms.
You know where I like to look for bathing suits at, and I actually like this site, is Zappos.com. And the reason that I like them is because you can, as long as it's not been like physically worn out somewhere or whatever, it still has the tags on it, you can return your item like within 365 days.
Whoa.
Yeah, which that's pretty impressive to me.
It's almost like Nordstrom that lets you return anything anytime.
Yeah, so you can basically you could buy tons of bathing suits on there, and I'm terrible about like taking stuff back to the post office or whatever. Me too. So even if I keep it for like 30 days, I can still, even if I keep it for 120 days, I can still return it and get my money back.
Like, I was actually going to tell this story last night when we were walking the dogs, and, like, I got sidetracked. But I bought a DVD player on Amazon. Yeah. And I guess I didn't read clearly enough in the description. I don't know where in it said it, but it has the wrong outlet. Like, it's not American. Like, it's like, I pulled it out, and it's like these two, like, cylindrical prongs, and I'm like, what the? That's so, like, hilarious. Now I'm like, oh, and I, like, look, and it's like, oh, most items can be returned if unopened. I'm like, well, I didn't know it had the wrong plug till I opened it. I'm like, that's my only issue is it's like, you know, like, I don't usually shop for electronics online, but, like, Amazon was a great deal. I like to just, you know, I was like, oh, yay, finally, my DVD player.
You probably just didn't read the fine print.
It had to be pretty fine, because even when I looked at the box, I couldn't tell. I was like...
That's so funny.
I was like, who... I mean, seriously, I was like, it's Amazon. Like, I didn't expect I was going to have to make sure it was for the right country.
I know, and I didn't even think they could ship from overseas.
Apparently it's from some place called Worldwide Shipping. And it came in the same box as my other stuff from Amazon. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Sorry, but that was just a bane of my existence this week. I was so frustrated. I was like, ugh, can't believe this is happening.
That's funny.
But, so, I can't believe it's like 5 minutes left in the show.
I know, this was much easier than I thought.
I know. I told you. I was like, it's very conversational. It's very laid back. It's very easy. So, here's a question for you. Okay. So, let's say that the Orioles make it to the playoffs this year and things like progress. Yep. How does that affect your life, do you think, in direct? Does it become like a tremendous stress for you as far as like, will you want to be in town during that process? Will you want to be back home and like?
Yeah, no, I'll be here. I mean, once again, that's sort of why I try to stay out of baseball and not go to like as many games and stuff, because if I start getting involved with it, I can tend to get more stressed or worried or whatever. So, yeah, I'll be here, and I mean, I'll go to some playoff games and whatever, and I'll probably go with the team if they go places, just because for Nate and I, it's fun to sort of do that and experience that together. But, yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal, you know.
Now, do the wives, like, I mean, and not to generalize, but do you, like, is it a good social circle there where there's a lot of, like, the wives, like, hang out together, or is everyone kind of, like, do their own thing, or is there, like, little...
Yeah, there's a couple that I hang out with, like, pretty often. I live on one side of town and they sort of live on the other. But a lot of them have either just had a baby or, you know, are a couple years younger than me, and maybe I'm just, like, not cool. I'm actually cooler than they think, though, so I could hang. But, no, not real. I'm just kidding. I think it's just, like, the distance between, like, because, you know, when you're over in, like, Canton or Fells Point or whatever, it's easier to hang out with the people
than the ones in Fed Hill.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Or God forbid, they're out in the county or something, the ones that purchased houses and
right.
stuff.
But I actually like everybody. I mean, I think they're all friendly. They're easy to get along with. They're pretty cool girls. So, yeah, I really enjoy them.
Because we don't have a lot of single guys on this particular team this year. There's a handful, but it's not like back in the 90s where there was a lot of guys on the team that weren't married. So, do you, like, see, like, at the games or whatever, like, the girls that are, like, maybe the girl that's there for a single player, and kind of, like, is it natural to kind of size them up and think whether you think they're sticking around or not?
No, I always just introduce them myself. Actually, like, that happened with, well, this was a wife, but, and a girlfriend back in Atlanta. I'm always, like, the first person to be like, oh, hi, I'm Lindsay.
Yeah, I believe that.
Da, 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 da. Well, because I know what it's like if you don't know anyone, how uncomfortable it can be, and you do feel like, oh, are these people judging me?
Right.
I feel like that's just not really, like, how things really happen. Not on this team or any of the teams I've been on. I've definitely heard some stuff about other teams.
Now, do you think
that's all hearsay.
The team, or do you think that that's just the specific individual women that just happens to be a good group of women, like...
Yeah, I think this is a really good team, and when you've got a bunch of good guys, you know, typically they're married or dating or whatever, a bunch of good girls, so it's, you know, I think it goes hand in hand, but, I think that everybody kind of makes an effort to introduce themselves or talk to the other wife to make them feel more comfortable or, you know, whatnot.
Now, I thought to think one of the other hard things, and, you know, we don't have much time left, but I did want to address the fact, because you mentioned in the past, you know, when Nate had a tough time in his career and, like, media was being really tough on him, and people don't think, like, I've been through that with my dad, where people will post things and then they don't realize how they're directly affecting a human being. So I know, God knows, Jim Johnson's gone through the cycle with people, things like that. And so fortunately, I think Nate, you know, has had a, you know, strong year, but, thinking about, like, and I know you and I have had a conversation about this, but, like, how comfortable people feel, like, saying things to you or Nate regarding, like, a game and, like, performance and kind of, like...
I'll be the first person to joke and be like, oh, Nate sucked last night. Like, you know, totally joking. Like, I would joke around with him like that. But you do have to sort of be careful. Like, I'm my husband's biggest fan. So, and, you know, I love him and care about his feelings. So... you would have to be careful what you said around me. It's okay to, like, joke around and whatever, but if you come up to me and be like, oh, your husband's blowing right now, like, I would probably not be nice. That's when my southern meanness can come out.
Yeah, I don't think people realize it's, like, it's a person. Like, it's not just, like, there for, like, it's not just a name like it is to someone else. Like, oh, they feel like when people in the public eye, it's okay to kind of...
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I could say, and I've never understood this about fans, like, if you want... a player on a team to do good, you don't boo your own team.
That's my biggest thing.
You don't boo your own players. You don't, you know what, you cheer them on, you support them, you believe in them, you know, through all of it, because I think that players maybe feed off of the
positivity.
crowd. Positivity, yeah.
I think exactly the same thing. I get into this with people all the time when people start like giving up on the game in a certain inning and they're like, oh, of course they're going to do this. And I'm like, are you trying to make more bad things happen? They're like, oh, I don't have any effect on it. I'm like, well, if you don't think you have anything affecting it, then at least put positive out. Because if there's a chance it's affecting it, don't you want to put out something better?
And every player wants to believe that their fans believe in them.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, Lindsay, I can't thank you enough. I feel like time flew by. Thank you so much for being
here.
I want to remind everybody that look up online about the Project Runway event that's going on this Tuesday. This Monday. And so check it out. Always, look up about Barks. They're a great animal shelter doing a lot to help out, rescues and things like that. Always look into rescues. Nothing against breeders, but like there's so many animals that need homes out there. And the Orioles are in town tonight. They're playing Oakland this weekend. So get out there and support them. And again, I want to thank you so much for being here. This was so much fun. And we'll go and chat more after this offline. But remember, every Friday here, Gina Geppi Social Scene, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, khztv.com. I will see you next week. Take care.
See you later.
Bye.